Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So we've got something super exciting today. I am incorporating a new journal system into, my already existing stack of planners and journals and what have you. So this is a Paper Republic Grand Voyageur XL cover in the color Petrol Blue. I actually bought this off of Poshmark. Somebody was selling it for $60 and I took it as a sign. I've been wanting to try Paper Republic for a while now and I never really invested in them for a couple of reasons. One, it's not US based, and with all the customs and tariff stuff going on, I wasn't necessarily prepared to pay that kind of price, just for a journal cover that I'm not too sure about. Obviously, I'm well acquainted with the Traveler's Notebook system and the string system, and it's worked really well for me. That said, I kind of made a deal with myself. Basically, if I found it and it was for a decent price and, it was technically brand new, there were no scuffs or anything, I would buy it. And I did. It came brand spanking new. There are no signs of wear. The person that sold it to me, she said it was literally just sitting on her desk in the box, being unused. And I also received, she sold the extra strings as well. So that's why I said it's a pretty good steal, because the strings don't even come with the actual planner itself. So I did replace the orange. It came with orange. I hate is a strong word, but I kind of do hate orange. It's not my color at all. So I had to replace it, and I just replaced it with the red. And even before I jump in, I did actually film a setup video. The original video was literally an unboxing of the planner cover and, the actual setup, and just me rambling on about how I set it up and what my thought process was. Unfortunately, my planner died halfway through that filming, so the footage was lost, or is lost. And lesson learned, just keep my phone on a charger at all times. But yeah, let's just dive into it. So I mentioned that I had two kind of reservations for investing in a Paper Republic. One was the fact that it was an international brand, which I don't mind. I heard that, a lot of people, they receive their covers in about anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks, which really isn't bad of a turnaround, considering it's coming from Italy or I believe it's Vienna. I believe most of their stuff is shipped out from Vienna, if I'm not mistaken. Feel free to correct me on that, but I'm pretty sure they're based in Vienna. So I didn't mind that. Again, I didn't want to invest in a cover that I wasn't sure I was absolutely going to commit to. And then the second reservation that I had was primarily about the size of the inserts. So I think from my takeaway, one of the biggest cons of purchasing one of the covers from Paper Republic, was the fact that their insert size is very specific, meaning the cover itself is not a perfect A5, and they don't advertise that on their website, just so everybody knows. It's not a perfect A5. This is a Midori A5, and you can see right here, it's it's slightly bigger all around, you know. There's overhang, and I mean the length itself is not terrible. Like it fits right there, but it's just too wide for the cover itself. And especially if I was to put this in the cover, just this journal alone would take up everything, and it would even stick out to the point where, you know, like there's just too much overhang for me to overlook. Like this kind of overhang, I don't mind. You know, it's not really gonna damage anything, and even so, like if it does dent, I wouldn't really care. But this A5 size is just, it's a no-go. I bought this kind of hoping that I would be able to make it work, but unfortunately it didn't. And you know, I'm probably gonna end up returning this. But that said, I did end up buying a couple of B6 size inserts, and I've seen, you know, other YouTubers like Seaweed Kisses and I think a couple others, you know, discussing like, hey, this size fits and these types of inserts fit and these journals and notebooks fit inside the XL size. And so I did a lot of research even prior to buying this cover. You know, I've been interested in investing in a Paper Republic XL size for like maybe 6 months already. I think that was like around the time that I really started to pick up traction and really like, you know, step up on social media and whatnot. But I did end up finding out that the B6 size fits kind of perfectly, at least like, you know, width-wise, inside of these covers. So that's why I bought a couple. So I bought this Penco, and I'm familiar with Penco. I have a smaller, you know, like little hand carry size. I put it in my Passport TN, and it lives there as my brain notebook. But I love Penco. I love their notebooks, so I wanted to buy one. The issue was I didn't even know that it was going to be this thick. There was no picture, you know, like kind of briefing anybody on how thick this notebook was. So I'm just going to keep this to the side. You know, maybe if I end up slimming my setup down, you know, I might just chuck this in there. But so this is gridded, and I ended up going with a Life notebook for my grid. And, you know, it's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I've had a Life notebook before, and it's pretty much the same type of paper as like Toma River paper, even almost Midori paper. Although I will say that like the Midori papers have a little bit more tooth to them. But the Toma River paper for sure is very smooth, and the Life paper is pretty much just that. You know, it's a coated paper. It's definitely a lot thicker than the Toma River paper, excuse me. So, you know, it's a lot more durable, and I do like Life notebooks, and I just like, I like the contrast of the colors between the cover and the notebook itself. I really like this red orange. It's kind of like one of my staple cover colors. So, and I love the cover design of it. It just looks really nice, and it fits into my whole, I guess you could say, aesthetic. I don't like using that word, but you know, that's pretty much what it is. I like how it plays into the quote-unquote vibe I'm going for. So I have a Life notebook in here that's gridded, and then I did buy a Travelers Company zipper pouch, and it's just wrapped around this blank Paper Republic insert that came with the cover that I purchased. So for this, I'm just leaving it in here, you know, like just in case I want to throw in, like, let's say stamps or stickers or Post-it notes or something like that. I'm leaving it in here because this journal system cover type of setup is going to be primarily my work setup. I'm trying something different out for work, and I'm going to be doing a lot of intensive study, a lot of self-paced courses and whatnot. So I thought that the Paper Republic cover and the string system specifically would work very well for what I need, and I'm hoping that it does, because again, like, I really like how I set this up. And you know, with it being work, I'm sure I'm gonna have like a lot of random sticky notes, a lot of like little work notes that I need to collect. So the zipper pouch was kind of a non-negotiable for me. And then, like I said, I have it wrapped around this Paper Republic blank insert. And I'm just gonna kind of use this as a brain dump situation. I typically have a brain dump notebook in all of my setups, or even in my my Filofax, I have a specific section under the notes, you know, just for like random ideas or things that I need to jot down quickly. So that's what this is for. And I already tested, you know, the paper. It's definitely more toothy than you know, like Tomb River paper or any of the papers that I'm used to, but it's actually a really nice paper. It holds up really well to the ink that I tried. And you know, if I end up like really liking this paper and the insert, I might actually end up ordering more Paper Republic inserts, because I do want to try their folio as well. That, you know, it's basically like a folder that you can put in your cover. And yeah, maybe I'll replace it with the zipper. I'll replace the zipper cover with the folio if I do end up, you know, purchasing inserts and that from Paper Republic. But for now, you know, the zipper cover works just fine. And, you know, at the back, it's like these little folders on both sides. So I can just slip things in, and, you know, like my receipts, if I need to keep track, you know, for tax purposes, I can definitely, like, you know, just shove those in without any problem. And then this one, this notebook, it's actually a Leuchtturm B6 Plus. It's basically B6 size. I believe it's just like slightly taller, like by a smidge. But you know, you can obviously tell like it fits perfectly fine in here, and it does really well with the other inserts. So this one is lined, and I'm basically going to be using it for my notes, you know, for all of the courses and, you know, like my learning that I'm going to be doing over the next few months. And I chose the Leuchtturm specifically because it has this, you know, table of contents in the front, and I wanted to be able to index, you know, like, okay, from page 47 to 71, it's, you know, this course, yada yada. And, you know, like, I'll be able to just reference it. And obviously, like, I can always just go back and buy a new Leuchtturm if I run out of pages, which is really nice. So, yeah, I definitely knew that I wanted to have this type of notebook in here, and I'm really glad I do, because I'm sure it's going to come in handy. Only thing I will say is I bought this thinking it was going to be a soft cover, and it's not. It's a hard cover. I don't think that's going to affect anything too much. It's just obviously not as pliable as, you know, like the cardstock covers. So it might be a little bit harder to write, you know, as I go on. But we shall see. I don't think it'll be too big of an issue for me, but you know, it's there. I'm happy it's in there, and I'm just gonna leave it. So yeah, that's pretty much the setup. You know, very simple, very straight to the point. Like I said, it's gonna be a work system. It's going to be dedicated to my work and my learning, you know, for work and my training and whatever. So I really wanted it to be portable And, you know, the fact that I'm using the string system will definitely make it more customizable as far as like, okay, this, you know, book isn't working out, or I need a different format, you know, like instead of grid, I want another line notebook. Like I could swap that out easily, which is why I wanted a Paper Republic in the first place, specifically for this system. So I think it's gonna work out just fine. I'm not gonna force myself to use it, but you know, like I said, I do want it to be portable enough to where I can carry it. And, you know, like if I have a meeting or if I'm just like on the go, I'll be able to chuck this in my purse. You know, like it's still fairly portable in size. You know, like I said, it's not a perfect A5, which I guess could be a pro as well. You know, it just makes it nicer to hold in the hand, compared to like, you know, a slightly larger A5. And the A5 isn't bulky, but I think I've explained it in a couple videos ago that I'm no stranger to A5, but I just found the size to be quite daunting, especially because I tried, you know, I tried the size with planning, I've tried the size with journaling, and it just never worked out. So I think using a B6 size for this system might be the sweet spot. I've used B6 before and it actually turned out very well. And, you know, like it's fairly comparable to the Traveler's Company size as well. So, you know, if you hold them side by side, like you could see the covers. The Traveler's Company cover is just a smidge taller. And, you know, obviously it's slimmer, you know, width-wise. Let me just get that out of the way. I don't know if you guys could see that, but, you know, so I'm no stranger to the size in particular. The length or the width I was kind of worried about, but I don't think it's going to be such a big deal. You know, it's really going to be for practical purposes. So it's not going to be like a planner where I have to constantly change the system or something. You know, like I'm literally just going to be hopping in there for notes and, you know, making sure that I get all the important information down. And, you know, I like it for its portability. Like I said, I think the size is perfect. I already know that it works for me because I have my Traveler's Company, with, you know, set up as my writer's notebook, my writer's system, I guess. But, you know, like if I wanted to carry just this and my Filofax, like it's perfect. You know, like you see it's almost flush with each other, both length and width wise, and it's just comfortable to hold in the hand. Like if I'm trying to, you know, like grab it and go, I could still do it with one hand. Obviously it's a little heavy because of all the notebooks, but it's still doable is what I'm trying to say. And another thing too, you know, like I was thinking of adding a booklet in here for the months specifically. I don't necessarily need like a whole planner setup for work. I think for now I just need the months. Maybe that'll change, you know, as time goes on. But I was thinking of putting one in here, and I was doing some research, you know, over like the past week, and I know Stalogy has one, which is the most accessible, I suppose, like that would be the word. I could buy a Stalogy monthly planner and shove it in there, because it's basically the size of the Paper Republic. You know, it's not as chunky as the other journals that I have. It's thin, to where it won't add too much bulk to the planner or to the system. But the issue I'm running into is it's kind of expensive for what it is. You know, I know Stalogy has really good and high quality paper, and maybe it would be a good investment, but, you know, like I also have the ability to design and print the monthly layout and kind of just, you know, like stitch it together and make my own booklet, which is probably gonna be what, it's probably gonna be the insert that I go for, just to kind of try it out. The other alternative would be to dedicate a specific section in my Filofax, because, you know, in my last video I was talking about making it a little bit thicker and chunking it up. Maybe that would be the answer, but the issue is, like, this is all personal, and I know in my video before, like, I said that I combine things, but I think I want to keep work and personal stuff separate, just because of how my system works right now. And I don't really want to throw a wrench in that, if that makes sense. You know, like, if it's working really well for me already, I don't want to add something else and possibly mess up the flow. So like I said, either I can print out my own monthly inserts, because it's just the month, you know, it's just a monthly overview, a standard month overview that I need for my work right now. I don't need a weekly, I don't need a daily, so I don't need anything like substantial. I don't need a huge chunky planner to be carrying around with this, because this is already, you know, it's got some weight to it. And like I said, I want it to be portable. I want to be able to just chuck it in my bag, or, you know, hold it in my arm while I'm, you know, on my way to a coffee shop to work or something, or, you know, like to a meeting. So I don't want to bulk it up too much to where it's too heavy and too uncomfortable for me to carry around. So I could either print it out, or I could just buy a completely different planner that's not super expensive, or, you know, like worth the money. I ran across Rifle Paper Company, I think it's called, and like their designs are really cute. I'm not too sure about the quality of their paper though. I have to do a little bit more research on the you know, like the planner itself, but it's basically a fully set up planner. You know, like it has the weekly and it has the monthly, and, you know, it's like those little planners that you can find in Target or whatever. But, you know, like, again, with that, I don't know if I need the weeklies yet. Maybe for to-do list, for sure, I could see that. But I know I definitely need the monthlies. So I don't know. I'm gonna kind of weigh my options a little bit more and just think about, you know, the direction I want to go in. 'Cause either way, it's, you know, it's meant to kind of complement this whole setup, and I do want it to flow well. And by that I mean, you know, like my personal planner, my Filofax, my planner system, it worked so well for me. I haven't changed anything in like the past 3 months. I have the same inserts, I have the same planning routine, so nothing really changes with this planner. And then, you know, as far as flow with my journals, everybody who's seen my video like 2 videos ago for my 2026 planner lineup, I talked about how I rearranged my writer's notebook system to flow a lot better. You know, I switched out 2 with 2, and it just, for me, it just needs to work very well together. The notebooks and the inserts need to be cohesive, but they can also stand alone, if that makes sense. You know, like if I just need my notes from my course, you know, I can literally just take this out and go, and you know, like I won't feel empty with not having the other inserts. So that's kind of what I'm going for, and I hope it works out like that. But if I do end up putting a planner in with this system, it also needs to add to that flow, and it doesn't need to become a chore, or it doesn't need to become a road bump. You know, I need it to kind of just complement it and, you know, have it there for when I need it. And I mean, we'll see how it goes. I'll definitely keep you guys updated, but I am super happy with the setup right now. I haven't added any like decoration or anything that I think I need yet. You know, like I haven't put any post-its or stickers or whatever, because I'm not too sure what I'll need yet. I'll probably need post-its, so I'll put those in. Everything else I'm probably just gonna leave like that, like this, until, you know, I find a need for it. The only thing I did do was I put a binder clip because, you know, I tend to use them for my my pens. And, you know, as far as pens go, I was thinking about using either a fountain pen because, you know, like the paper in here is really nice. So I was thinking of either using fountain pens, or I could just use my ballpoint pen, my Zebra, what's it called? My Zebra F301. I really like this ballpoint pen. I'm not a huge fan of ballpoint pens, but this one and my Pentel Com are probably the only two ballpoint pens I'll ever reach for. But I also like this because, you know, like the silver just complements the whole notebook really nicely. But we'll see, you know, let me know what kind of pen you guys think I should try out, or, you know, out of these three, which one I should go for. Like I said, I'm trying to go for like the whole portability thing. So I'm not trying to bring a whole pencil case with me. Like it's literally just going to be me hopping in here, writing down notes, writing down, you know, like important meeting tidbits and whatever. So it's not like I need 3 types of pens, 4 different highlighters, and, you know, whatever else. I literally just want to be carrying around one pen. And if I do find myself needing a highlighter, I might end up putting another binder clip, you know, either on the, you know, the back of the cover, or, you know, maybe like on the Leuchtturm because it's more sturdy, you know, and I could probably like fit the highlighter in there in that little gap. But I don't know, we'll see. Like I said, this is a brand new system. I researched on the setup and, you know, the types of inserts or journals that I wanted to put in here, and this is what I came up with, and we are just going to play it by ear as far as like whether the system works or not. And I'll definitely keep you guys updated. I'll probably be doing a lot more videos on this Paper Republic because it's so nice. I am such a sucker for leather covers. I love the smell. I love the feel of it. You know, even with my Traveler's Company cover, it's beautiful. You know, like you can't go wrong with a leather cover. And, you know, I guess Paper Republic, for me, like my takeaway or my opinion, is like the middle ground between a Louise Carmen and the Traveler's Company covers. So obviously Louise Carmen, everybody talks about it. It's nice, but it's expensive, you know, and again, like they're based out of France and it's like a whole international shipping thing. And I think Paper Republic is a lot more simplified, I guess you would say. You know, like, yes, it's beautiful, and, you know, they have like those little folio inserts that you can add to the covers, and it's a trifold and whatever, but I personally I can't justify buying a Louise Carmen. I've seen many of the other YouTubers that I watch, you know, like they have a Louise Carmen and it's beautiful, you know, it's a beautiful leather cover. But for me personally, I can't justify spending that kind of money on a leather cover when I can basically get, I literally got this off of Poshmark for $60, you know, and yes, you know, not everybody is lucky enough to catch that kind of sale, but if you do buy from Paper Republic on their website, just, you know, like a normal order, it's fairly affordable. And like I see people posting their affiliate links or their discount codes all the time, so I'm sure you can find like a 20 or 30% discount. And I'm even sure if you sign up for their newsletter online through their website, I'm pretty sure you get either a 10 or 20% discount for, you know, that you can use for your first order within a week, I believe. But for me, you know, like Paper Public is just more accessible to the general public. I'm happy to be trying it out, and like I said, you can't really go wrong with a leather cover. It's just the customization of it, you know, the ability to customize your system and take things out when they don't work for you, or put things in when you do need them, and then, you know, like fiddling with it. Like that's the whole that's the fun of it, I guess I could say. You know, like it brings me joy to kind of like figure out how it can flow better and what will work better and what's not working, and take it out and put something new in and try that out. And, you know, like if it works, great. If not, well, gotta look for a new journal or insert, you know. So I'm really happy with where it's at right now, and I will, like I said, be updating you guys. But for now, that's it. And I am happy to welcome this new cover, this new system into my stack. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'll keep you guys updated. Have a good one. Bye, guys.